Pumpkin Hollow, it is 27 years of down on the farm family fun.
They say the patients were driven to madness. Unfortunately, my great-grandfather was one of them.
Got 2 new apple cannons. Can shoot apples at a target with a big cannon. Hands, that's what I never know what to do with my hands.
What you want to do is just put them in front of you and just do this the entire time.
Talk with my hands.
I find that if you don't know what to do with them, it's probably better to just leave them.
Yeah.
If you're someone who doesn't naturally talk with your hands, then don't try
I'll just do whatever I do.
Whatever feels natural.
You can deal with it.
Yeah, that'll be fine. This is Ellen Dalton, family matriarch and co-founder of Pumpkin Hollow. Since 1993, Pumpkin Hollow has been providing equal parts homegrown hospitality and horror to northern Arkansas. For the 2024 season, A-Corp took a look behind the curtain and got to know the Dalton family who run the operation. What makes this place so special? How does it stay relevant year after year? I'm your host, Jake, and this is Pumpkin People. So how did you and your husband initially get into the agritourism business?
Actually, there were like 2 or 3 things happening. We grew a field of pumpkins, wasn't really smart because we honestly didn't have a good market for them. But my brother-in-law in the St. Louis area found out about a pumpkin patch up there who had had a crop failure. And so we took a load of pumpkins to them and they both came home. Oh my gosh, we could do this. And they're fighting over pumpkins. And I said, this is Clay County, Arkansas. This is farming country. Nobody's gonna get excited about pumpkins. The other thing was our local schools found out we had grown some pumpkins and they called and wanted to bring a school bus. My daughter had just started college and she'd learned how to make a poster in Word in her college class, so she made up a flyer. My brother-in-law had been an educator. He took it around to all the schools and we're not expecting much of anything, and all of a sudden I had 2,500 kids booked to come for a field trip, and it's like, holy cow, this might work after all. And at the end of the year, we had not made any money, but we had seen the potential. And the next year, when I called one of the principals, about coming back, and he had a fit about $2.50, to charge the admission to bring it up. But they came, and they kept coming. 1999, we made the first corn maze in Arkansas. It was probably one of the first ones anywhere in this whole region, actually. We basically started out with an outline of the state of Arkansas that first year. And so we would say, okay, this one down here in southeast Arkansas, I think it was Eudora, I think was the name of it, but we would put signs there where Little Rock is, where we are, and made our first maze that way. So we had to use like hundreds, probably thousands, of the little survey flags, and then the flagging ribbon, and tied it. It was a full week's job for 2 of us out in the heat in June.
I see, you kind of had to intricately plan it, like, okay, plant here, do not plant here.
You plant it solid back
Oh, really?
then.
Okay.
Yes, you plant
and then
it.
you would just like mow it?
Yes, mowed it out. So we had, when we got it all ribboned out, actually a time or 2 we just used a weed eater. We had a high school kid come in and weed eat out the paths, but then we'd have to keep them mowed all summer because the corn would come back up, or you'd get grass or whatever in the middle. So it was a big ordeal. First time I ever went up in the plane to get that picture, I was holding my breath and I was like, really? It looks like it.
Yeah, now you can do all that stuff with like satellite imagery, right?
Yes, and as of last year, we actually planted this with Smart Planter, so now there's no more. It actually comes up the design, which is something
really
we've
cool.
not been able to do except for the last 2 years. So in an hour, they can play it and get the whole design, and we're done. It's come a long way, baby.
And I presume, when you're done with the corn maze and everything, I assume you guys you harvest the corn, right?
Yeah, some years we harvest it, other years we turn the cows in and they harvest it.
Oh, okay.
One way or the other, depending on what works better for our particular
Yeah, because they tend to use the harder corn, right? That's usually used more for like animal feed,
yes.
typically.
Well,
because it doesn't seem like it'd make a lot of sense to plant, say, sweet corn, right?
No, we don't plant sweet corn. No, and sweet corn not going to get tall enough either. So yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Once we moved out of the corn maze, we moved into the forest of fried, and then we built these other big haunts. So I really believe that we have professional grade haunted attractions and things you're not going to see just at every JC haunted house. Not to disparage that, but it's different here.
Sure.
And it's night and it's dark and you're in the woods and there's creepy things. We have a lot of people, sometimes they'll bring younger kids and they'll say, oh, they love scary movies. I said, ma'am, scary movies are not the same as a really ugly person in the dark in your kid's face. We don't actually enforce an age limit, but we do try to make people understand, this is not for your little kids, but we do have some that do it. So our slogan is family by day, fright by night. It's perfect for what we do. We have families out here, we say 2 to 92. I have great grandsons right now, little guys, and they absolutely love it here and have since they've been born. But all of our grandkids grew up here. So
I see.
It's been fun. So that's the daytime family entertainment. So my husband and I were coming back from a gourd show in Indiana one night, and or late in the day, and I said, whoa, stop. And he said, what? I saw all these big play sets sitting around, and it was Mennonites that had these all out on the big lot. So we call this one our Noah's Ark. It was our first play set that we had down here. It worked out really good, and it has been a good one. It's still going. This is we call it our tree house. So you go up and you can come down through these small slides or go all the way across and come down the big slide. There's a little climbing wall there. And then you can see we've just made different, there's a little fairy village over there that gets fixed up when it gets time. And so it's just a fun use for this little bitty piece of woods here.
I really like that even though everything's sort of mixed around, you can split it in half in terms of, like you said, the friendly and the frightening, the sweet and the sour, that sort of thing. And I think the fact that you sort of have 2 different forested areas that are essentially reserved for those specific sides of the coin.
Yep.
I don't know, I think that's a cool idea. I like that you've got the friendly forest where, hey, here's all this play equipment, here are signs on the trees to educate people of what kind of trees these are. Right. And then you've got the forest of fright, which exists solely to terrify people. And I don't know, I think that's a fun dichotomy.
We actually were warned that will not work. We used to go to this haunt conference, and the guy that was in charge of that will not work. You cannot have daytime and scary stuff in the same farm, but we did, and it worked.
Can you tell us about Bubba? Who is Bubba?
Oh, Bubba. Bubba has been Bubba for a long time. He's a young man from, actually lives at Kennett, Missouri, and he is Bubba. And Bubba's been Bubba for 14 or 15 years now, I've forgotten which. He is the one with the yucky teeth and the hat turned backwards and the old long yucky hair, and he scares the fool out of people. But he just rolls with everything. He manages Bubba's Butcher Barn, and he has his actors there when they're supposed to be doing what they're supposed to be doing, and he's an awesome character. Now the asylum has its own person, and he is the doctor there, so he's his own person there. And there's a gal down in the forest of fright, the manager there. She has her own character too. But Bubba has been here longer than anybody. He's been at it, and he gets into it, and he's tons of fun.
Pretty much as long as you've been doing the scary stuff almost.
Yeah, almost, not quite, but as soon as the first barn, I mean, he's been with us.
As soon as it became established, I guess.
Yeah,
it's like, all right.
It's
well,
been
And then that's the haunted asylum you were talking about?
This one is Bubba's Butcher Barn. And
okay.
And it's just what you think, what it sounds like. It is a gory barn. Over here you can see this is our
That's the asylum.
Amity Asylum, yeah. That was new 2 years ago. And just beyond that is the Christmas trees that we don't use anymore. There was a guy out front one night several years ago standing in line, and he's watching people pay their money, and he said, I heard him, man, if I had 40 acres, I know what I would do. Well, sometimes after a long day, you know, I'm pretty mild-mannered, and I was mild-mannered with him, but I walked up to him and I said, hey, how many people are you think are working here tonight? And he said, well, I don't know, they're all volunteers, aren't they? I said, all of our volunteers want to get paid. And I said, oh, well, I never thought about that. I said, any idea what our insurance premium is tonight? Oh, you got to have insurance. You know, so it goes on and on, you know.
Right.
But anyway, it's a big thing. It's a big event to produce, and to 6 weeks. By the end of 6 or 7 weeks, our tails are dragging.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it's exhausting.
Yeah, you have to really like people, and you really have to tolerate a lot of, and embrace, not just tolerate, but embrace a lot of different kinds of people. For the most part, people who come here are happy. They don't usually fuss, but you know, you cannot please everybody 100% of the time, but you try to make it right the best way that you can. When I talk to adults now who are bringing their children who came here on their first field trips early when we were started, I try to ask them, okay, what do you remember about your field trip? The winner by far is getting to pick their own pumpkin and take their own pumpkin home with them. That's the big thing.
That honestly doesn't really surprise me either, because I feel like there's something very personal, you know? It's not just that you're picking a pumpkin, but it's that when you're a kid especially, you're really inspecting it, you know, you're like, oh, you memorize every lump on the thing, every little nick. And like you said, that's my pumpkin, that's right. My pumpkin.
They even get their name put on the bottom of this said pumpkin. So that one, oh my goodness. Away from here in a city, and I won't name any names, but of an acquaintance has a pumpkin patch. They do not grow any pumpkins. They buy them and bring them in, and they put them among other kind of vines. But and most people somehow don't know the difference. Some do and say, I don't know about that. But to me, if you're going to be a pumpkin patch, you got to grow some at your pumpkin patch.
Yeah, and I mean, you said you grow a specific variety that you can't even buy anymore, right?
Yes, for our pies, we use an old-fashioned variety called a cow pumpkin. And the story is that, and I know that this happened, when farmers would plant their cornfield, then they may send their kids out with some of these old cow pumpkin seeds to just plant amongst the corn. So when the corn got picked, then they would turn the cows in and they could eat the pumpkins, you know, those old cow pumpkins, but they have the strongest pumpkin flavor of any pumpkin that we grow.
Yeah, whenever we come back around September, I'll definitely have to try a slice of that pumpkin pie, even though I'm trying not to eat things like pumpkin pie.
Hey, well, this one has vitamin A and stuff in it.
Yeah, there's good stuff. You know, it's like some people say, well, you know, really a hamburger is like the perfect nutrient-dense meal, right? Because you've got grain, you've got meat, you've got vegetables, whatever you want. You know, it's like, okay.
Don't worry about the fat and cholesterol and salt.
Exactly. But yeah, I'll have to do that because I know, like, all of the pumpkins sold in cans is all, I think it's like a kind of squash technically.
Yes.
And like, you know, it still tastes good. Like a pumpkin pie made with that still tastes good.
You would be astonished at the difference.
Yeah, I mean, and I have had like genuine pumpkin pie before, but it's been years.
Yeah, but this really has a strong pumpkin flavor, and we make a lot of pumpkin roll, which is the pumpkin actually goes in the batter, and so you have this. You get your dairy in this one because it's got the cream cheese.
Right, exactly.
And you support your United States sugar farmers, maybe, or some sugar farmer.
Right.
And has some eggs in there too.
Yeah, well, there you go. Like you said, part of a complete breakfast. Right?
Well, some of the pumpkin pie, I mean, you got eggs and milk in there, so yay.
Exactly. So yeah, it's fine.
There could be worse things.
You know, it'll all buff out.
That's right. You just need a smaller piece, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
This is where we plant our pumpkins for our school field trips.
Okay.
So they come and pick, you know, the small pumpkins to take back home with them.
So you grow smaller ones over on that side.
Small ones here, giant ones past where Michelle is. Those get planted really soon. And then just regular jack-o'-lanterns. We have another field, not here, where we grow the other, probably 40 varieties we'll have in our other field. Mostly here we grow the jacks, the kid pumpkins, and the giant stuff over here.
And that's the goose.
Yep.
What are, if you just have any anecdotes or like funny stories of things that have happened any particular years? I know there've got to be some.
Oh my gosh, I could write a book. But I was down here early before anyone got here one fall, and a police car from Missouri pulls up out front. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what's this? And out comes a mom and dad and first grader, a little girl. And the policeman escorts them in and says, ma'am, this child stole things, and she's come to return those, and I will let you decide what should be done with her. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh. But the parents had thought enough of this child to teach her an object lesson. And so I said, okay, let me talk to her. And I took her in the back where no one else was. And I said, so you took these things? She had pockets full of stuff she had walked out with.
Okay, so it wasn't just like a
stick
of gum or something.
No. I said, yes, ma'am. I said, I bet you will never, ever, ever do this again, will you? No, ma'am. I said, okay, I'm going to let you go then. But it was, it's like not the first, not what you would expect out of a first grader. She had enjoyed, and we had not caught her doing that.
Before we wrap up entirely, I do realize we haven't actually touched on any of your photography. So can you tell me just about your photography, what you like to photograph, how you got started in it, that sort of thing?
Well, in 1980, we had a Japanese exchange student that lived with us for a month. It was through the 4-H program. And she was 13. She came all the way around the world to stay with somebody in Arkansas, which is amazing. I couldn't imagine sending my 13-year-old to Japan. But she comes bearing a Canon camera.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine being 13 in Sykes, Missouri, and saying, yeah, I'll go to Kyoto for half a year.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, that was the first time I'd ever seen a camera like that. Boy, it's a little point and shoots or whatever. And that Christmas, my husband got me one for Christmas, and he says, that was 1980, he said I created a monster. I'm not much of a people photographer. I can do it, the technical part of it. I'm not good with posing and all of that, but I love nature photography, whether it's wildlife, and that would be secondary to, I love landscape photos, and particularly I like nighttime landscapes. I like to do the Milky Way, I like to do moon, the eclipse that we got. Oh my gosh, that was so much fun.
Ellen, thank you so much for sitting down with me and showing me around the grounds and everything. And it's been fun.
I love it.
It's been fun.
It's
and I'll definitely
I can talk about Pumpkin Hollow.
Right.
I have 30 years of talk.
Yeah. I'll definitely be excited to come back and maybe chat with you some more, as well as actually properly meet Jack. I think that'll be fun.
Okay. We'll see if we can hog tie him. He has a crop insurance business. So
so I imagine that keeps him tied
Well,
down.
I think you'd add stuff today that came up that's sort of unexpected, and I said, well, do we know what we're doing? And he said, nope, can you just be there at 2 o'clock? And I said, yep, I can. So it worked out well.
All right, cool. Well, I appreciate it again.
Good.
Thank you.
All right.